Greetings, I am Tom Earl. On this week's episode, we have a special host take over the podcast and facilitate a Q&A session with myself. Check it out. Greetings, I am Tom Earl, and this is my year of grace. We know you could be anywhere, so the fact that you are here today sharing your greatest gifts, your time and energy, means the world to me. I hope you know that in this moment, just as you are and where you are loved and appreciated. I have an amazing guest. She goes by the name of Sadiya Sassine. Brr, 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 brr. What's up?
Hey, what's up, Tom?
Not much, just hanging out. So, Sadiya's super awesome. She's my friend from Florida. And why don't you introduce yourself? Tell folks a little bit about yourself, your fears, where you live. You know, just like normal stuff people share with strangers.
Normal things, just off the bat. My name is Sadiya. You already know this, so I'll go over here. And I live in Anaheim currently, but I'm not originally from California. I basically grew up in Florida. And that's how I know Tom from the poetry community. Back when he was a slam poet and used to win competitions. And he had these long blonde dreadlocks. And he only ate raw fruits and vegetables. So this is my mythology of Tom Earl. But yeah, now I work for the government and I live over here.
I like that little part. And now I work for the government.
Yep.
So are you saying I used to win slams, now I lose slams?
You used to win slams and now you win at life.
Oh! That's awesome.
Yes.
So why don't you share with folks, how did this, us sitting down, how did this come about?
Sure. Thank you for introducing us as friends first.
Yeah. As opposed to what?
As opposed to like a fan of your podcast.
Oh, okay.
because I am a fan of your podcast, as you know, and I always give you lots and lots of commentary on it and what I like. But yeah, I really, as I was telling you the other day, I just love how this invitation came about. Because basically, Tom one day called me and we were talking about his podcast. That's like his favorite topic to talk about. And he was like, oh, the Q&A with Adora. And he was like, oh, it takes a really like special and curious person to work on podcasts and to be in that position. And, you know, Sadiya, I think you're one of those people. And I was so shocked and I'm really honored. And I was like, of course I will do this with you. Yes, I will. And so, of course, when you put it that way, yes, I'm going to say, yes, I would love to be on your podcast and have the honor of asking you questions.
Well, I appreciate that so much.
Yes, thank you.
I think of, have you seen the meme where it says something like, when one of your friends says, like, calls you their followers? Have you seen that meme?
That sounds terrible. I'm sure I've seen something like that, yes.
So I wouldn't introduce you as one of my followers and fans.
Yes, has been given the opportunity to be on this show with me.
But yes, I do appreciate when people text me and give me feedback on the podcast. So I do appreciate the heck out of that.
Oh, good.
And, you know, I have this intention of, you know, I do solo episodes, I do interviews, but I want to bring people on to do some Q&A and where we have a conversation, where it's a two-way street. And so I have experimented with doing that with people. And, you know, to host a podcast, like I was saying, it takes a skill set, but to come on somebody else's, and you're basically hosting this one, it's a unique thing that you have to do to navigate, and I feel that you have that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So just to reiterate what we said before.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So what we're going to do is, these are questions that people have asked me since the last one with Adora, which was in January. Oh, side note, just want to say Adora did a great job, so I don't want y'all to think that it was like, Yeah, I did it with a door up. Takes a special person. Clearly, it's not her. But actually, I think this is an opportunity to have. We had Adora, now Sadiya. So just for you to get to meet some of my friends, my inner circle, and for to get to see different side of us and stuff like that. But basically, these are questions that people either emailed me, have asked me on Instagram, DM'd me, have asked in person. They're questions that I've heard clients bring up. So sometimes they're their exact words. Sometimes they're just slightly changed a little bit to protect their, anonymity. Give them anonymity and to, remove their industry so you can't be like, well, I know Tom was working with this company at this time, so this must be that person. So, I just try to kind of make things vague. But I figured it'd be helpful to y'all as well. How was that
Awesome.
for a setup?
That's perfect. So actually I have, you know what? I'm going to go first.
Okay.
With a question,
Okay.
but it's kind of an intro question.
So this is a question from you.
Yes.
Okay, so Sadiya's also going to ask questions.
I will. And this question is really more about who you are and maybe talking a little bit about that.
Okay.
So whenever I'm talking to a new friend and then I tell them about my special friend, Tom Earl, and the things that you do, I'm not really sure how to, what kind of a title that I should give you, because I'm like, oh, he's an entrepreneur, but then he's also like a social justice activist. And what would you say is your title, career-wise, or how would you want to be introduced to other people?
I mean, that's a great one, and there's really no, I think, one sentence to intro it is what the answer is, because sometimes I'll introduce myself, and Adora won't like the way I did it, so she'll but he also does this! So I think what is, at least in LA, saying, oh, I'm a musician, or I'm a poet, people are interested, but it's kind of like acting, there's a lot, and there might not be as much immediate value I can bring to their life as a musician, because right now I'm not focusing on putting out new music.
Okay.
So I can't be like, and you can listen to it and it'll brighten your day.
Okay.
So I usually tell people that I do business development, professional and business development.
Okay.
Because it's something that I can help with right away. But I also bring in, that there's no one sentence that you can introduce somebody as, including myself.
Okay.
So I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah. So would you call yourself a coach?
I do coaching, but I rarely introduce myself as coach because there's such a negative connotation with coach, with coaching, that it's usually, coaching's for, I always give the stereotype, coaching's for, people who drink expensive coffee in gentrified neighborhoods with their Whole Foods tote bags. That's who does coaching, and it's fake and vague, and just go to counseling instead. Work with a professional. Coaches are bogus. So I rarely say I do coaching. Especially I would never say I do life coaching.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But I say do business development. I help entrepreneurs, side hustlers, and creatives connect with their mission and purpose so they can scale their audience and their message and their revenue. That's kind of what I say. Mostly I'm introducing myself to my Uber driver. And then they're like, oh my God, that's amazing. I'm an actor, I do this, and I need help. So then the rest of our drive is giving them advice here and there.
Okay, nice. That's really awesome. And thank you for clarifying, because I might have talked to other people about you and threw in the word life coach in the mix in the other ways that I've described you as well. So now I will know. Take out that title.
Yeah, when I started, I did a lot of leadership coaching, which I think applies to your bigger life. But I just feel you have to be doing whatever area you're going to focus in, you just need to become obsessed with being an expert in.
Okay.
And the area of my life I'm obsessed with becoming an expert in right now is how to help businesses, individuals, and nonprofits, creatives, all those people. How do if you want to make a difference in the world and you want to do it out there, how can I give you tools to make that happen? And a part of that's going to be you have to be a good leader. And a lot of times a part of leadership is going to be things that are in your personal life, but I'm more passionate and my vision is more clear there than if somebody came to me and was like, my life's a mess, I feel lonely, I want to have a good relationship. Okay, let me help you. I feel that there's a lot of areas within there that I just don't trust, that I have the full expertise to say, okay, open yourself up to me. I got you. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So if there's something very specific somebody wanted help in, we would be clear from the beginning. But if they just felt like, I would usually refer them to a mental health specialist.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. Good to know.
I think when you're introduced to just give value to everybody, a lot of us these days, and I think because of the internet and technology, we can be /this/that. Whereas our parents, definitely our grandparents, it wasn't realistic for them to do a 9 to 5, tuck their kids into bed, and then at 8 or 9 o'clock be like, I'm going to start my other job. Like, what would they have done? Everybody's in bed.
Right.
But we have the internet where somewhere in the world, or chances are even down the street, people are awake. Or you can create and post something to schedule to come out when people are awake. So we all have a greater opportunity to have more passion and to express it and to connect with it and turn it into something that, even if it's not monetary, it's just something we can pursue. So we all have the ability to do slashes. So I usually just try to figure out in the 3 seconds I have what aspect of introducing myself will form the quickest connection and add the most value to this person. So sometimes I lead with I work at a nonprofit, or I lead with I'm a musician.
Okay.
But most often what cuts through the noise, because whatever you're doing, you can benefit from having a good social media game, is the business and social media thing.
Got it.
But for everybody else, just figure out what would be the answer that would connect with the person in this moment. Don't try to give it all at once. Give one thing, and then you'll find the people who are like, cool, I'm out, versus the people who, and you do this, and you do this. Let that just come out a little bit later.
Okay. Nice.
Great question.
Yeah, great advice. Great tips. So this actually leads into the first question, and based on the answer that you just gave us, you can tell us whether this is too broad of a scope.
Okay.
I'm just going to go ahead and read this word for word from one of your followers.
Okay.
Tom, I listened to your podcast and I think it is awesome. It is a stepping stone for me to start doing something I can be happy with in my life. I have to admit that I've been feeling scared and lost. I don't know what to do and where to begin. I once thought I just need to be more positive and think I can do it, or just try harder. Everything's gonna work. But now I lost that spirit. What's your advice for people who feel directionless in their life? It would be great to hear from you. Thank you.
I remember when this one came in, it was actually somebody international. So it's one of those things where you're like, how did you stumble upon my page? Like the ways that we just connect. And I saw this question at night, and then the next morning I just wanted to get an answer out to them right away. Recorded it. So just to reiterate, what I talked about on there is kind of what I've already said too, that, mental health professionals are there for a reason. Some of them can suck. Some of them are in it because they're trying to fill a hole in themselves, and they feel by helping you, it will. But there are people who it's like their gift. So, what sucks is oftentimes health insurance makes that more accessible, and we don't have universal health care. So not everybody has universal access to mental health services. But just want to give that advice to just always start there. Even if it's just some fine tuning, if you don't feel that, you should only go see a mental health professional when you're like super bad. I think there's a bunch of stereotypes and stigmas. So just going to add that in there. But my advice is that I shared is that I don't know specifically this person's life or our listeners' life. So I can share from my own perspective that there have been many times where I felt hopeless, or I felt that my path was unclear, or, do you listen to Radiohead?
Once in a while.
They got the No Surprises, where a heart that fills up like a landfill, a job that slowly kills you, bruises that won't heal. Like, we all can relate to those lines sometimes. And so one thing that helps me in those moments is to have some sort of structure. So whether it's the beginning of your day or the end of the day, those are usually 2 parts of your day you have some control over. And so pick one that you feel you have the most control over and create some sort of routine or ritual around releasing energy. So for me, mine is I wake up in the morning And I like to get up just before the sun comes up because I come outside and it's still dark. And I put on a really motivating podcast. And I get to see like the sun come up and then it's bright. And just that process of me walking and listening and seeing like the day start, for me, like puts me in a place where whatever is ahead of me, I've already started with a win. Or when I get home from work, what I've been doing is I get home and put down my bag and I put on some music that makes me dance. And like I dance as I'm preparing my lunch for the next day or my clothes or laying out for whatever meetings I have. And I just dance and let go of any energy from any meetings or anything that I had from the day. So those are two rituals. I remember when I was working with young people who experience trauma, abuse, and neglect. And then I had a second job that was working with survivors of genocide that I used to bring a lot of that stuff home. And so what I did every night without fail is I would do scrapbook art. And I just would do it, and I wouldn't post or anything, but I just had to do some sort of process to get it out. And then I would make sure that every other week I got a massage.
Nice.
So I think you got to find some sort of structure that you just fall into, that you're not making a decision like, well, should I get up tomorrow and go for a walk? That it's an already decided thing. It is a structure. You work out 3 days a week or some sort of thing like that. And that structure of positivity, even if it's a job you don't like or something, or even if for 10 hours of the day you feel that hopelessness, that if, even for a half an hour, you momentarily forget about it, that you can start to build upon those moments. And I think slowly developing some sort of area that makes you passionate or where you do feel yourself come alive. And if you don't know what that is, once again, structure. Pick one day of the week off that you have where you don't really have very much responsibility that day. For a lot of people, it's Sunday. And say whatever amount of time you can, whether it's a half hour, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and say for this amount of time, I'm going to do whatever whim comes up. Obviously positive, like, hey, I got a whim, I'm going to drink until I black out. Like, not like that. But if you're like, hey, I was wondering the other day, I've always wondered how noise canceling headphones work. So you go and you look it up, and then you scroll on the bottom, and it's like, oh, look at this clickbait. If your mind says click it. And then like you end up somehow discovering this random thing that makes you curious, at least for 3 hours, even if it was just random looking around. You are training that muscle of what makes you curious, what makes you come alive, following that. And if you regularly start to do that, you're going to start to find a trend or this thing, or you're going to become an expert in something or a curator of content. You're going to start to be able to figure out what's bad clickbait and good clickbait. And you can eventually find something that you can start to share with other people to make the world a little bit better, and also yourself, and start following that and pursuing that. And slowly but surely that becomes a purpose. And it's just makes you come alive. But I do agree with the person who said this, that you can't rah-rah yourself completely from a place of despair to happiness. And so sometimes it's just reminding yourself that, for instance, for myself, when I'm 20 minutes into a spin class and I hate the instructor, like, oh my God, this is so hard. When are we going to get a rest? That I just remind myself it's only going to be 50 minutes. And so if you're in a time of despair, sometimes your body just needs to be in that. Sometimes it just sucks. And so when I go through those things, I just think of, I'm going to look back on this time from that elevated place. And first of all, have compassion for myself, but also recognize that this was a journey I needed to take, and it got better, as cliche as it sounds. But sometimes it is going to suck, and it might suck for a year. But like little by little, you're going to crawl out of it. So just having that patience and like resolve that I'm not going to try to fake happiness. I'm not going to rah-rah myself. I'm going to accept that this is what it is and start to do little steps to rise out of this.
Wow, that's really awesome. So it sounds like when I read this question, I would think when people are talking about being directionless, maybe that has more to do with like career, and it does have to do with purpose, which you touched on. But it sounds like you really started from a place of having good mental health, like taking care of yourself and creating that time for yourself where you can just explore, like you said, or do things that really spark your curiosity.
Yeah.
And I think that's cool too that you said you have a morning ritual and then there's an after work ritual. So it's very regular.
Yeah.
It's something that you have to do pretty consistently and put it in multiple times throughout the day to really get yourself in a healthy spot.
I do. I love structure. I love structure that I can be chaotic within.
That's a good one.
You know, I think one thing too is just go to the fundamentals. Are you getting 8 to 9 hours of sleep? You know, are you staying hydrated? Are you eating food that's resonating with you? You know, are you getting enough sunshine? Are you getting exercise? And exercise can literally look like, you know, are you getting 7,000 steps a day? Like those kind of things. You can just start there. Because once you have that foundation, you see things clearer.
Got it.
What are your thoughts?
Well, as you went down that list, I was like, nope. I could be doing better in these areas. I'm wondering if you, does it throw you off if you miss one of your points throughout the day, like one of your routines?
Yes and no. I know that when I first wake up, those first 30 minutes, that I'm not going to be at my best if you need to problem solve with me or talk with me, or I need those at least 20 minutes to wake up by myself. So whether it's, you know, if for some reason I don't have enough time to go for a walk, then just listening to something for 10 minutes and cleaning up the house. You know, you do some sort of movement by myself to awaken. Or even if it's, okay, if I don't have time, then I'm going to shower and do all those things, but I need to be in my own zone for at least 15 minutes. So
Got it.
I think there's best case scenario rituals, and then, you know, there's a 5-minute ritual. So, but yeah, I think it throws you off if I start to miss those. Sleep is definitely a big one. I really feel it. If I get less than 7 hours of sleep, I feel that.
Yeah.
And if I get less than 7 hours of sleep for more than 3 or 4 days, I know I'm going to get sick.
Oh, man.
I always say the body takes its due. Always. You cannot outrun your body. Even if you think you're outrunning your body, it's going to catch up to you when you're 50 or 60. You cannot outrun. You can't cheat it. You can't be like, oh, you know, they say you're supposed to get 8, but I'm going to get 6. I'm going to work real hard now. Then I'm going to relax when I'm 60 and 70. And then, all you do is go to the hospital when you're 60 and 70. Because it don't work like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that is wise. Cool. So the next question I have here is, Tom, I have something I'm passionate about and want to turn into my full-time business, but need to work at my current job to pay the bills. How should I divide my time?
What are your thoughts on this one? Put me on the spot.
Right. Oh, this is a hard one. Currently, as a 30-something-year-old woman in America, I feel like my priority is to have money, and so I would have money, and then after my full-time job, pursue my interests that do not make me money yet.
Because you recently, if you don't mind me putting out your business, had made a executive decision in terms of what's your priority.
Yes, I did. And then I feel like my decision changed, which I kind of struggled with, and we talked about that. Is it okay to change your mind? But yeah, I would say my priority recently has been making sure that I'm comfortable and have the financial freedom to live the kind of lifestyle that I want.
One thing to keep in mind is that for whatever reason, I keep saying technology, but I do think technology has revolutionized our life. For whatever reason, older is younger than it used to be. My dad's going to turn 70. And to me, I would think he was turning 50. And that's across the board. 70-year-olds I know, and then 40-year-olds. I remember when we were younger that they would have this huge party for turning 40 because it's like, oh my God, you're 40. Now it's like, you're 40, who cares? That's basically 20. is this just my perception? It seems like older is younger than it used to be.
I would definitely agree with that.
So if you think that you're in your 20s, your 30s, or however old you are, instead of feeling this pressure, like, I have to start living my dream now. Yes, I agree. But that delayed gratification will come. But that pressure to feel like you have to have it figured out now, and you have to be making that money now, and all that kind of stuff now, that, how old am I? 31, almost 32. So even if it took me, and I'm working as hard as I can to make it my reality now, but even if it took me another almost 10 years, and so 40 is finally I get my foot in the door of the industry I want to be in. It took, let's say I live till I'm 80. I have a whole nother what I've already lived to then live in the reality that I want to live. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But instead, if I'm like, nope, I'm going to throw it all reason and everything out the window because it's going to be this year. Oftentimes then you have some terrible couple years. Mm. And what maybe you make it a year earlier than you'd wanted, but those last years sucked. Mm. You sometimes see it with acting, and is that one of Adora and I's mentors. She hosts. She's a founder of Abundance Bound. Her name's Mieta, and she always gives the advice to actors to find some sort of side hustle or stable job that gives you financial security. Put in a year or two, and then almost always they're flexible with you. Mm-hmm. I got an audition. Go for it. But people feel so pressured that, no, I can only do like a waitering job or some job that if they tell me I can't go to this audition, I can just quit because I have to be ready. And that just delaying the vision, or saying, you know what, for 2 years, I'm going to put in my due at this job that's going to give me a salary and health care, and I'm going to focus on kicking ass. And then after 2 years, I'll probably be more a senior level person, because most people only last a year at the most at most jobs anyways these days. So I'm going to have some sort of leverage to say, I have this other thing. I need a little more flexibility. Can I work from home one day? This, and that. So I think that a lot of people would benefit from, because I can totally relate to that burning desire for this newfound purpose and passion. And you see the Facebook ads that say, I remember I was just like you, hating my job, and then I just ran this ClickFunnels thing, and now I'm making 6 figures, and I chill on the beach and make money in my sleep, and you can too. Just click it. You see that stuff.
So many of those.
And you're like, I must be me. If it's that easy, what am I doing? I'm gonna go for it. That kind of stuff. It's just, you gotta have patience, and the longer vision, and the slow incremental climb. And it's not worth destroying your health and only having a business but no relationships, only having a business but crappy health, only having a business but you never did anything that brought you pleasure. You can, it's like only working out the bicep on one arm. That bicep's gonna look dope. But you're gonna be like, what the heck? So from a practical standpoint, to take it out of the philosophy, from a practical standpoint, what you need to do to give yourself a sustainable income where you can, you're not suffering, and then what you need to do to get 8 to 9 hours of sleep, and then what you need to do to get, whether it's exercising 2 times a week or making sure you get 7,000 steps a day, whatever you need to do to make sure that you're calling your mom or your dad, or you're putting in energy into your relationships, because relationships are the bridge to everything, and you're eating healthy. Boom. Now you need to actually be honest with yourself and say, how many hours in the week do I have left? And if it's 2, that's how much time you have a week to put into your business, into that thing that you want to grow. And be realistic that I have to. And don't be like, but I'm gonna do 6. I'm gonna force it, because you're gonna have this feeling that a lot of businesses have, where you never feel like you're doing anything, because you're trying to expect 2 hours of work to produce 10 hours of results. So you're never gonna feel like you're accomplishing anything, because you're always behind, and you never get to really focus on something and do it well, because you're always trying to get to the next task. So just be totally honest. I have 2 hours. and you'll be surprised what consistent 2 hours where you're focused and you're well-rounded and you're enjoying life, what those 2 hours are compared to 3 hours that you squeeze out of life that are just like, an avalanche.
Wow.
And little by little, your business will start to create a little bit of revenue, and you can cut back at the other job, and 2 hours turns into 3, turns into 4, turns into 5. And then before you know it, you're at that place where you can take that leap of faith and do your passion thing full time. But you got to have the long game.
That's really awesome. So in order to execute that advice that you just gave, you definitely have to be someone that's intentional about looking at how they're spending their life, how they're spending their time, how they're budgeting their time. And is there anything that you use or a tool that you have to really analyze how you spend your time and to see like, oh, this is how many hours I can and should allocate to a task?
Well, I think the first level of anything is the philosophy.
Okay.
And then the strategy, and then like the tactical thing. So a really good book for the philosophy part is called Essentialism. It's a book. Unfortunately, it's by a white guy, so I always feel bad. You're like, read it. I'm a white guy. You should read another white guy. But it's a really good book. Essentialism, and the byline is the disciplined pursuit of less. So the concept that's really important is trade-offs and learning how to say no to things. Because anything you say yes to, there is a trade-off that you are not going to be able to do. So, early on in our career, we feel like we have to say yes to everything. Or if you get a little bit of success, then you got to say yes to everything, or fear of missing out, all of these things. So you have to really develop criteria for your yeses and then become disciplined in your nos. So I think all of us would just benefit from like 90% of the things we get asked to do or feel that we have to do, just start saying no to. On the emotional side, I think, this is just a cluster F. I'm going to refer to another white guy.
Okay. I think that's okay.
Nonviolent Communication, Marshall Rosenberg.
I've heard about that book.
Yeah, great, really great. So on the emotional side, if you have a problem with saying no, he always talks about, that when anything is agreed upon where either party feels like they have to do it, they're doing it out of coercion, or they're doing it because they think it's an obligation, or because they're motivated by the desire for some sort of reward in the present or in the future, or they feel they will be punished if they don't say yes. If there's any of those elements in an agreement or in a yes, it's going to eventually lead to conflict. And we can see that. Like, I don't really want to do this, but I'm going to say yes because that's what friends do. But really, it's like, because I'm going to eventually cash in those chips, And if you say no, and be like, yeah, but I did all these things for you. How can you say no to me? It's like, I didn't know that's why you were saying yes. And so I think it's helpful to think when you're trying to decide to say yes or no, to ask yourself that. Am I saying yes because I want some sort of reward? And the reward could be that this person likes me more, or that I'm afraid of some sort of punishment where they like me less or they're mad at me. Do I feel obligated? Any of those things. And if it's a yes, chances are the answer really is a no. There's just that emotional stuff. And knowing it's going to lead to conflict. So you can check that stuff off more. But what I used to do is, you write down all of your to-dos, everything that you can possibly think of that you have to do in a month or a week. And that's overwhelming. So organizing all those to-dos then into categories. So most of us have about like 8 professional, 8 personal categories. Categories like health would be a category. And then underneath that would be all the things associated with eating and sleeping, da-da-da. And then with your business, you might have like marketing, professional development, administration, so putting them into categories so it's not this overwhelming list. And then from there, pulling up a calendar and saying, what'll be the block of time I'm going to work on this thing this week? And I use a software called TickTick.com, and you can literally drag your to-do onto the calendar and then drag how long you think it's going to take. So if you do that and you're like, oh my God, that's the whole week, and I barely got through my to-do list, it's instant data to let you know that your to-do list is unrealistic. And I know there's some questions in there about bosses. It's a really good tool to go to a boss who is not an essentialist. And they're like, I need you to do this, this, and this. To be like, perfect. So remember when we met 2 weeks ago and you agreed on the priorities that we set, and you can see from the calendar that also you signed off on, that I don't have a single open minute. So what would you like me to not do to do this new priority instead? And they're like, fine, I just take it off your plate. You know what I mean? So like it's empowering for you and those around you.
Yeah.
That's your question?
Sure. I think that was a great answer. And I will add to that I've also just recently in the past few months been able to embrace that at my own work and realize that we're really busy. And every single day, I have a lot to do. And I've definitely used that exact strategy. When my supervisor asks me to complete something, I just ask her, okay, would you like me to prioritize over these other things that, I should do for my day, or these other tasks that I do daily?
And how's it go?
It goes great, and then she says no. And I'm like, okay. so that I'm not doing it anymore, which is fine. And then on the days when I have time, then, I can accomplish that task. So I definitely think that's a really good, transparent question, or helps to keep things transparent at the workplace.
Do you ever feel fear that by saying that it's going to make you look like, somebody who is just giving pushback to the boss? Or, what about for like that pleaser part of all of us? How do you rise above that?
That is a big part of my personality, I think. And for me, I only feel nervous about that question if I know that I haven't been doing my best. If I feel like I haven't used my time to the best of my ability, then I'll feel a little bit guilty having not accomplished tasks, or saying that I don't have enough time to accomplish these tasks that have been asked of me. So that can be a struggle sometimes.
It's tough though, because we do emotional work. So it's not like it's not something you can have an efficiency conversation all the time in. Well, you should have been more efficient. It's like, well, I just had to do this thing with the client that was really heartbreaking. Like, I'm gonna move slower because I'm processing my emotions, Yeah.
I definitely agree with that. And that's kind of difficult too, because then how do you get paid for that? Like, if you have to take time emotionally, how does that work into what you are expected to accomplish at work?
For me, I think that I maybe because I'm mostly in the nonprofit world, is I think that we just have a systemic problem of burnout and abuse. And maybe because we can rationalize the workload, that it saves lives, it makes such a difference, that it's so easy to rationalize taking on more. But across the board, most nonprofits would benefit from saying no and chopping off 80% of what they do and really focusing on 20%. And the answer always is, well, we just need more staff. And I always tell organizations I'm working with that your budget could go right now from $500,000 to $2 million, but it's a philosophy thing that then you will be at a $2 million budget with a $2 million worth of staff, but you're going to be working an action plan that really needs $4 million. And then you'll get the $4 million and you'll just keep, it's like a philosophy that you just keep pushing yourself, always needing to do more. And it just burns everybody out. You've been in the nonprofit industry. Am I overreacting? Is it just the organizations that I work with that I see this?
No, I definitely can see in the nonprofit and in government that there is burnout and there's a lot of expectation. And is it realistic to, have people meet those expectations?
The answer is no.
Yeah.
It's unrealistic.
Yeah. So I had another one of my own questions for you, and it kind of follows in with these. So I was listening to one of your podcasts earlier this week, and it was an older one. It was about leadership, and I think you did it at the very end of 2018.
Okay.
And that was just a solo podcast.
Leadership is a bridge?
Leadership is a bridge. Okay. Exactly. So one of the things you said that I thought was really interesting is that you get so much joy out of discipline. And I've never heard anyone say that before. I've heard that discipline is freedom, but not like, oh, I love discipline. It makes me so happy. And I think that's can be such a good perspective, and it can really, I could probably really use that as a tool to help myself have more discipline. But I was curious about, when did you first discover that about yourself, that you can really look forward to accomplishing the goals that you set for yourself? Not that other people set for you, but that you set for yourself.
Well, I heard two questions.
Okay.
Why do I like discipline? Was that one of them? Or what's my deal with being so into discipline, or what?
Yes. Why do you like it so much? And also, when did you decide that you liked discipline? Because I feel like that's not something that most people say.
Okay, got you. I learned probably in my, when I was around 23, that when I commit to something, I commit to it. And the discipline to follow it through is something that I have, that willpower. I remember my dad growing up used to always talk about natural talent and willpower. That, have you heard of this? I'm sure people in the US always say, natural talent is good because you start and it's really awesome, but because you're good at things right away, you rarely have to work hard at them. And so oftentimes a lot of people with natural talent, that's their gift, they're good at it from the beginning, but if they don't cultivate willpower, they're just going to hop from one thing to another and do it until it becomes hard. With willpower people, he never gave any negatives. He did not. I think he's all about that willpower. So I think I had that cultivation of, working hard and going over any obstacles. I think what the message is, makes you a good person, But so for me, I had, without realizing it, I've talked about this before, around 23, realized I was anorexic. And I literally was so disciplined in not eating that I was killing myself. Weighed 105 pounds. I weigh a little over 200 right now. So almost 100 pounds less. Wow. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
People used to see me and be like, oh my God, do you have cancer? People thought I was dying. I was like, what are y'all talking about? I'm fine. I had no idea. Until then I started researching and was like, oh my God, I'm anorexic. I had no idea. And so that's when I got through all of that. I realized that discipline can be like a sword that cuts through obstacles, but it also can cut you. And so then I had just become self-aware that this is a part of myself. And I had kind of let it go then. And I'd really tried to embrace the more openness aspect, that where I was saying, find a Sunday and for 3 hours, do whatever you feel like. I really had to practice that.
Okay.
I really had to practice for myself, going by your whims and, getting lost in a rabbit hole of curiosity and all these kind of things. I had to really practice that. And so I practiced it for a while and I got better at it. And then I read that Tim Ferriss's Tools of Titans book. Really great book. No, Tribe of Mentors. I read both, but it was Tribe of Mentors, where he interviews a bunch of, sent out the same questions to diverse audience, and they came back. Such a great book. And then I came to this one chapter where the person wrote the one question Tim Ferriss asked, if you could put any question on a billboard, what would it be? And that person wrote, discipline equals freedom. And it was it was just went right through me. I was like, wow. Yes!
Wow.
It's true! And now I'm just, the person's name, Jocko Willink, and now Dora always makes fun of me because I'm always talking about Jocko. Because it's just that's my thing. I think when I saw that, how he phrased it, and then read the book, it reframed discipline in a positive way for me. That is yes, when you have that discipline, you can then improvise within, like jazz. And so I just really found that while I would not want a routine that was the same thing every day. That's not what I mean. I don't mean routineness, sameness, boringness, but, having that structure to do your thing within. I just found I love that.
Nice.
So why do I love it? I mean, I don't know. I love it because of the positives it gives. I love because there's nothing more satisfying than pushing through resistance or an obstacle and willpowering your way through it and loving the process, or like hating it but not, working out such a great analogy where you're like, oh, this sucks, but then like that night you go to bed like, yeah, wiped out in a good way. Or when I was telling you I'm doing this new Facebook ads campaign, and you just come across the silliest things that take you 3 hours to figure out. I was trying to figure out, how do you do a custom, I don't remember what they call it anymore, but it's, how you can post shortened links through Bitly and things like that.
Oh, right.
So instead of it saying bit.ly and then your link, how can I make it say a custom domain name? That's what it's called, a custom domain name. So instead of saying bit.ly / I can make it say tomearl.something / and then I can rewrite what it says at the end. It took me like 4 hours to figure out how to do that.
Wow.
And it was so satisfying when I did it.
That's awesome.
And I know how to do it. Super easy now.
Right.
But I just love that. I love just pushing through that kind of stuff.
That's really awesome.
And the question you gave with the satisfaction of setting goals and then following through on them, that for me was when you're going to get involved in things that are like public or have a measurable aspect, but you need to do them all the time, that you can get so lost in measuring day-to-day gains rather than realizing that growth happens in, a year and more type of a perspective. Once again, with working out, you might go up a dumbbell, 2 pounds in dumbbells or something, but where you're really going to see a difference is 1 to 2 years from now. Same thing with starting a podcast. My audience or my message or it having an impact, I'm not going to see it week to week. I'm going to see it year to year. And really, I'm going to see it, if you're going to start a podcast, unless you have access to some sort of celebrity to interview or a bunch of money for Facebook ads, you're really, in my opinion, looking 3 to 5 years. And so that can be a little bit too distant of a goal to give you sufficient motivation to go through all of the headaches that are going to come up. And so one for me that I found was to just be able to say to myself, once a week I will put one out. And then every week when I meet that goal, I get that little high of meeting a goal against all odds.
Got it.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And it's something I can control. If I was to say, every week I want to make sure 100 people listen, it's not in my control. I can do as many things as I want, but something could happen that week where just nobody's going to listen to any podcast but the news because something weird happened that week. Or like people just want to hear comedy today and I'm not a comedy, it's just outside of your control in the end what those numbers are. And so having some numbers that I am in control of. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I think that is really cool. It sounds like you're the kind of person that at the end of the day, when you've had like your rituals and you've achieved your goals that you set, and you've recorded that podcast once a week, and you've exercised and you've gotten all your sleep, then at the end of the day, you're kind of like can check that off in your head that you've achieved what you wanted to achieve. So you would probably feel pretty different if you woke up one day and then for some reason got off course, like an unplanned, unstructured day. Maybe you wouldn't feel as satisfied with that.
Well, I think like when we travel or when I'm doing some things that there's no way to have structure. So I'm not rigid. We're like, oh my God, I didn't go on my morning walk. I'm going to become grumpy. You know what I mean? So I guess I just find little things within it to still do.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if I was to, and plus traveling such a momentary thing, you know what I mean? But if I was to, I guess one example is when I travel, I make sure that with my backpack or with things I've packed, that things are where they need to be. Or that the things I need to get out the door in case there's an emergency I could find them in the dark. So I'll do things like that. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not like, well, we can't do this one thing because it's going to mess up my routine. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha. Yeah. I think that is personally a very admirable quality, and that innate desire to be disciplined and have structure, but especially to follow through on things, I cannot relate to whatsoever.
No, not at all.
I mean, that feeling of accomplishment when you have succeeded at something, yes, but the actual ability to follow through consistently, not my forte. So I like to hear about your perspective and how that's something that it sounds like has been a part of you, for your whole life or for a very long time. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
Well, we've talked about that there's lots of people who just stay stagnant, and you're not one of those people. You've gone and lived in Ethiopia for 3 years. You came back and were like, I'm going to move to LA. I can't tell you how many people have told me that. And then 10 years later, I'm still going to move to LA. Don't worry. And you were here in a couple weeks, or maybe you felt like it. You had found a job, you'd done the whole thing. And, so you do, though, have something within you when you have a vision, you get there. So maybe yours isn't discipline like mine that I lean into, but I know you have some sort of strength that gets you there.
Well, thank you, Tom.
Yeah. I think one of them is you're a really good learner.
Oh, thank you.
You really love learning and researching, and then you actually apply what you are listening and learning. And that's a strength that a lot of people don't have. They love to learn and they love to apply it.
I appreciate that.
Of course. High five worthy.
Yes.
Boom.
All right, back to some other followers' questions. Okay, so this is getting back into business a bit. Number 4. I'm a boss. I care about my work and my team and employees, but I feel overwhelmed and I barely have enough time to meet the needs of our clients. This means there is little time to meet with my team. I am sensing that morale is slipping around the office and things seem to be falling through the cracks. I admit I get frustrated with my team for not getting everything done I expect of them, but I don't have the time to address it. Yeah, I know it's a lot. Any advice? And I guess we kind of talked about this.
Yeah, I mean, it really is going to depend on what level of influence you as a boss have.
Okay.
It sounds like it's a culture thing. I heard a really good phrase at a thing I was at. It says, culture eats strategy every time. And so what that means is whatever strategy you have, if you have a crappy culture, it won't work. And so you have to care about your company, your organization's culture. And it can't all be, you'll have some people where, if you talk to the clients or people's perception of the company, they're the nicest people, I bet it's the funnest thing to work with. And then within the company, short, what is it called? Terse emails, passive aggressiveness. You don't even know what that person's up to this week, if there's something going on in their life. There's just all of that energy is focused outward. And so whatever level you have as a boss, whether you're just in charge of a team of 4 within this whole structure where you don't really have control over what's coming down to your team, or you're the person at the highest level and you can make the biggest structural change, whatever it is, you have to start to take ownership and recognize that when it comes down to it, if you're a boss, you work for your team, not the other way around. And really owning that and just figuring out, the other thing to recognize is that there's no cookie cutter strategy you can use to manage people. So if you go to some workshop and they tell you, if you need to manage people, what you need to do, you need to cut down on meetings because they waste everybody's time and do everything by email. Your team will love you. And then you go to another one. You know what? there's this trend where say don't do meetings. You have to do meetings, and they have to be face to face. You can't apply it across the team. You have to figure out each team member, what do they need, and then you have to manage them like that. And it's time consuming, but it's effective.
Wow. And
you have to figure it out. I was reading this military strategy book, and they were saying that in military culture, they recognize that no matter how good of a leader you are, you can't adequately manage more than 4 to 6 people.
Wow.
And so that's why you have, I don't know the terminology, but you have like, platoons and squads and tribes and da-da-da-da-da, because I might be in charge of 4 to 6 managers who are then in charge of 4 to 6 managers, and each of those managers are in charge of so that's why you have it broken down, because I can't be in charge of 10 people. There's no way you can keep track of what each person's doing and their successes and failures and what they need or don't need. And that's why 4 to 6 people, you can figure that out. But if you're a manager, most of your job is going to be managing. And that's why I really think a lot of companies, especially with really dynamic CEOs, need to have a CEO and then somebody who runs the company. Especially a lot of nonprofits where the CEO becomes the face and is always giving speeches. They should not be running the company. Somebody else needs to be running the company. Because you're going to be way too stressed to then come back and do all this stuff I'm saying.
Gotcha. They might not have that time to interact with their employees and figure them out individually and figure out what they need. Wow.
Yep. And if you're like, we don't have the money to hire somebody, so it has to be the CEO, it has to be both, then somebody has to start saying no. And so if you're in charge of your little team, you have to like we said, present to your higher ups, this is what we have time for. Do you agree? Yes, I agree. Do you agree this is a good use of our time? Yes, I agree. And that means all these other things aren't going to get done. And if they're like, well, then when are they? Well, according to the forecast that you just approved, we can consider doing them 6 months from now. But what often happens is between now and 6 months is this list is going to grow exponentially. Wow. And they're like, oh, wow, you're right. So what do you have, like you said, give it to their boss. You have to kind of have to end up fighting for your team, and that you need to be there to help manage them. Because otherwise you're going to get that turnover, you're going to get that burnout, you can get that resentment, and nobody likes working in places like that.
Right. Wow. That reminds me, I might have talked to you about this before, but of a conversation I had with one of my friends who's a really great teacher. And she basically had to apply that same train of thought with her students as far as individualizing her feedback towards them. And she said there were 5 motivators, and I don't remember all of them, but I remember some students are motivated by good grades, and some are by words of affirmation, maybe kind of like the 5 love languages. Some of them are by material things like rewards, like pencils and stickers. I think another one was competition, just doing better than the next student. Then I don't remember what the other ones were, but yeah, it takes a lot to really figure out how to best lead people and to serve people like a boss would do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the thing too is you can't micromanage, but you also can't be not in it. It's all leadership is a bridge. There's 2 things on 2 opposite sides, and you have to figure out where on that spectrum does your team need you. But the worst is when you have somebody who's a micromanager but doesn't have any time to approve anything.
Oh yeah.
That's the hardest.
Yeah.
Then your whole team's screwed, and they are going to resent you.
Oh man.
And so if you have to approve everything for whatever reason, then you have to make sure that most of your job then is just approving and managing. And there's not going to be much time for anything else.
So the follow-up question to this is, my boss sucks. Can I fire them?
Yes, you can fire them. That's how it works.
Okay.
I made that joke before we even started. The thing with the boss and with the subordinates or the employee is just that really taking personal responsibility of what you fully do have control over. And so nobody is able to get along or collaborate with somebody who you know holds you in resentment. And so if you're the boss and you resent one of your employees, there's no way you're going to get along with them because we just know. You know what I'm saying? Vice versa. If you think your boss sucks and you want to fire them, then they know. But I think the first decision to make is, are you going to stay or not? Are you invested or not? Oh, I love the organization, but if only the boss would leave. Well, they're not. And causing a bunch of drama is not going to help either. So are you going to stay or not? Not? Okay. Then do what you can. Find a new job.
Yeah.
Interestingly, some people always end up places where they have the worst boss ever.
Interesting.
But eventually, let's say, no, I'm going to stay and I want to work this out some. Then I really think a lot of it is taking that responsibility of what fully can you take control of. So if, let's say, it's the boss made a decision and it's going to be, we're going to do this, blah, blah, blah. And I know it's going to ruin the company. Well, you need to make sure that you're building a case and doing the best job you can at this thing that you know is a bad decision and documenting it and supporting the boss every step of the way on their bad decision. And then if the bad decision ends up being a bad decision and you're all sitting back reflecting, like you've done your part. But as much as you can, supporting the boss. And one phrase I learned is run for mayor. That everybody in the office, how's it going, Bill? Oh, hey, Sasha. Hey, Mohammed. Like, you need to run for mayor. That everyone around you knows that you're the nicest, dopest, go-to, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't mean become a yes person. Doesn't mean take everything on your plate. But you want to make sure that wherever you can, and even with your boss, you know, if you have a suggestion or, hey, boss, you know, I noticed this thing. Oh, that's a really good idea. Tell everybody. You know, I think the team actually might like hearing it from you. You know, they get to tell, oh, yeah, that worked out nice. Find little ways you can support your boss. And not kiss their ass. I'm not trying to say kiss their ass. But find all the little things you can do. And you can start to pick up on, like, oh, this one little thing that's not a big deal to me. If I do this thing, oh, my God, it makes my boss's day. Do those things. And even if they're incompetent, like, you're doing every part of what you can to make it work. And eventually it has its way of working out, or eventually you have to work your way out.
That is so great. I'm going to remember that. I'm going to apply this in my personal life. Run for mayor. Be friendly, but don't be a yes man or woman necessarily.
And I just want to say, if you're being, like, verbally abused or experiencing racism or sexism or those kind of things, then that's not my advice for if you're in that situation. If you're in that situation, my advice is to pull up a Google Doc on your personal email and start documenting every single time something like that happens. Build a case, go to HR, and if HR does some BS because HR's friends with them, like, there's ways you can bring in outside sources to hold those people accountable. So if you're experiencing some form of workplace harassment, my advice to you isn't to run for mayor. My advice to you is build a case. You know what I'm saying? Like, express to HR and give a chance to remedy the situation, you know, but like in situations like that, I'm not saying that you have to play nice. You shouldn't have to experience abuse in the workplace. Now, unfortunately, incompetence, mismanagement, overwhelm, an annoying personality, you know, like that kind of stuff is more what my advice is applied to. Gotcha. Unfortunately, you kind of probably will have to experience that in the workplace.
Gotcha. Yeah. These are great questions.
But one more thing. This is usually when Adora starts punching me. So I'm glad she's not here. I'm just kidding. You know, when you become boss and like the phrase of like good talent's hard to find, and you kind of sometimes find that to be true, it gives perspective to why you're like, why do these people get promoted? Because sometimes they were the best we had. And like, they're really good at this thing, and I know they suck at this, but I don't have the time to get them to be better at this. And like, it's tough to find good people, and now they're here and they're loyal, and like, it's what we need.
Got it. Oh, yeah, that's it. That's a good point. Which is no excuse, but I don't know. Sometimes when you can understand why, it makes you feel less like, I just work with a bunch of idiots. But these idiots have put in their time. That's sort of like what I'm getting. They're the least amount of idiots out of all the other idiots who've come through. Got it. And it's harder when you're the one who has to do the hiring. Is harder. And people are afraid to fire people. So, yeah. Quick to, what is it? If you're going to be quick to hire, be quick to fire. I don't know if that's really a phrase, but. Is that something that you go by?
I just think that in the end, all hiring is, in the end, a decision you make from your gut. Okay. Now, we know a lot of times that because people are going from their gut, hiring is systemically biased. You know, what the book, Why Are All the Black Kids Sitting Together in the Cafeteria? Dr. Tatum, she was the president of Spelman College. She's just retired. Wow. Obviously, I'm a big fan. But she talks about how she was on a lot of hiring committees, and people kept being like, there's just something about the person. It just didn't work. And afterwards, she's like, hey, you know that's something about the person that didn't work? It's because they're black. Y'all only said that about black people. How dare you? Anyways, this is side tangent. In the end, you're going to make a gut decision. People are going to put their best foot forwards in all interviews. It's not a very crisis-induced situation other than the stress of an interview. So you're really not going to know how good this person is until 3 months in. And when you, like, I usually know within 2 weeks if I made the wrong call. Where it's like, ooh, this ain't going to work. Bummer. And some people just like, and 4 years later.
What do you do in that situation if you realize 2 weeks later that, oh, maybe I shouldn't have hired this person?
What I try to do is, if I can, take everything off their plate that I know we don't have the time for them to become better at. Okay. So let's say that they really suck at this thing. And it's like, yeah, but you should give them a chance to get better. And I'm like, it's going to take them like 1.5 years to get better at this. And even then, it's not going to be up to the level we need. If there's somebody else on the team who is good at that, and the other person is good at the thing that's on their plate, I just try to do some swapping around. So if it's like, oh, but this person, I still see that potential, and they're really good at these things, I take everything off their plate, but the thing they're good at. Okay. And I see, okay, does that work? And if they can grow in that capacity, then we just have a talk that, like, hey, do you want to stay here, but you're only going to do this one thing? So obviously it's going to be a title and pay reduction. And sometimes people are like, yeah, I'm in. Sometimes it's like, no, I'm going to leave, but thanks for the opportunity. Or if, they thrive under this and they're able to create like a whole new job description that I didn't even see coming. Or, if they're also not good at that thing and I keep fine tuning and, I'm still trying to work with them, but eventually it's just like hey, we're closing tomorrow. The company's gone under. Oh, so, man. Everybody's leaving. And then, no, I'm just kidding. I don't lie.
I was like, well, is this a real scenario?
I'm like, yeah, so we went out of business. Since you're here first, you have the least to pack up, so you can leave. I turn off the lights. No, I was just like, this isn't working. But I think it's good to be upfront with people that, we're going to work with you, but we do take the 3-month probationary period seriously. Are you comfortable working in a place where there's going to be that uncertainty for those first couple months?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. That makes sense. Just working with your employee, if you're the leader in the group, and just trying to work to their strengths, basically, and seeing what they can do.
But we all know it's the worst. When it's like, why is this person still here?
Yeah. I'm trying to think if I've experienced that, but if not, I've definitely heard stories about people experiencing that, and that can be very frustrating.
Yeah, it's like, then it's like, okay, if, like, all bets are off, then why am I showing up on time? If nobody gets fired, then why do I care?
Yeah, I've definitely felt that way before.
And it's like, because you're afraid to fire this person.
Yeah. So I'm interested in, there was a more personal question that someone asked you, and if we can talk about that a little bit. So, Tom, congrats to you and Adora on your wedding. You just got married a few months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah? Pretty recently?
We got married in November, and we did 2 in January.
Nice. So back to this question, it says, I think this is number 2 or 3.
3?
Which, yeah, when I read that, I was like, Tom's been married 2 or 3 times.
Yep.
So this was really under the radar.
Once in Nigeria.
Right. To the same person.
Yeah.
Is what is the point, yes.
Okay.
Super happy for you. Any advice on how to meet and connect with someone you can spend the rest of your life with?
Well, for me, what I found in my life was I was being really successful at everything but that area of my life. And so I had to put as much energy and attention into relationships as I was putting into business and health and all these kind of things. And I think this comes down to a little bit of the ways we're socialized in a gender binary culture. That man, find your fulfillment through work. Woman, find your fulfillment through serving man as a relationship. You know what I mean? And so that oftentimes, especially in guys, you find that imbalance, where we get a lot of our fulfillment through our job. So that was definitely me. And so really I first started with, what do I think love is? Like, and not vague, and All About Love. Bell Hooks talks about how dangerous it is that we have such a vague definition of love, and yet we think it's good. But you need to be able to have some sort of standard or measurement, and you need to have clarity in what is a loving relationship. And so I really started to find that, and I started to take online courses and read books, listen to podcasts, whatever I could to get very clear for me what is love. And also what is not love. And so one thing that I found is that for me, I thought a lot of love was sacrifice and was remaining silent and was pleasing, because if you don't do those things, then the person's going to leave. And so to keep a relationship healthy, you have to kind of almost like sacrifice part of yourself. Super unhealthy. Because what I found I was doing in my life was there's only so far you can do that, and then you can't take it anymore. And if by communicating your needs to the person, they're going to leave, well, it's not going to work anyways. I might as well just leave. And so I would do that. Like, things would just build up. I'd be like, it's not working. We're done. And they'd be like, what? Where did this come from? Talk to me. I'd be like, I got nothing. It's just not working. And that was wrong of me. And so I apologize to all the people that happened with.
All those hearts you broke? Oh, man.
But, so that was one. And the other was, when we learn about love languages and stuff like that, I had at least perceived, and I think a lot of people have perceived, that you're supposed to figure out what your love languages are, or what feels like love to you, so you can then teach the other person how you want to be loved. That was a huge misconception. You can't ever teach somebody how to love you. People are where they're at in their life, able to love how they are able to love. And our decision is that how I want to be loved? No? Then, my job isn't to try to get this person to change to love me how they're going to love I want to be loved. It's not going to work. If it's no, then bless and release. Or this person is they're in this area of my life, but this isn't a loving relationship. It's not a commentary on who they are. But that was a big one for me. So I needed to get clear how I want to be loved, and find somebody who also likes to love like that. And so then, for me, I wrote those things down, my ingredients of a loving relationship. And when I would be going on dates, that checklist. And if there was one thing that was missing, because I had 6 core things, if one of them was missing, it was easy, you know?
Can I interject a little mini question here on the love languages?
Mm-hmm.
So you said that your job is definitely not to teach someone how to love you the way you want to be loved.
Yeah.
Would then you also say that you don't want to change yourself to receive love in the way that the other person can give love?
I think there's fine-tuning, and there's communication, and there's realizing, oh, when I say this like that, there's ways to work things through. But at our core, I really think once we get healthy, so I'm not talking about drama and all these things, but at our core, I am who I am. And there's only so much transformation I can do. And oftentimes transformation just makes you even more who you are. You know what I'm saying? It just makes you embrace more unapologetically who you are. Mm-hmm. And so it's not going to be like, I'm going to mold into this person that you want to love you the way you want to be loved. You know?
Right, yeah.
That's what I found.
Got it.
That there's little things, so you like, I don't know, you like gifts. So I can bring you gifts and stuff. But those are, to me, like finessings. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But if I'm somebody who doesn't like, I'm a person of few words, and your thing is words of affirmation, is rarely going to happen. Like, you'll get some good moments when you get it out of me. But if you need that, you got to find somebody who already is like that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't try to get you to love me like that. And I can't try to get... I think we do that to our parents a lot. Like, Mom or Dad, why don't you call me all the time? I'm just not that person. Mm-hmm. Mom or Dad, why are you always calling me? I need more space. Like, we're not going to change the way they love us. We just have to accept... they do or they don't. You know what I'm saying? According to our definition.
Right, yeah.
They can care for us, but caring deeply is different than loving.
Yeah, that's really awesome.
So I would say start there and be super vigilant in releasing people who don't meet it. I had a rule where I would not go on more than 5 dates with somebody unless I was ready to commit. And I think after 5 dates. I really do. Mm-hmm. So whatever your number is, it's 5, 8. But don't do any of this BS where you're like, but like have your list and be disciplined in it. This is your list.
I would also like to add, to answer that person's question, that Tom has actually given me love advice.
I have?
In the past. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's why I have a boyfriend.
Oh, yeah. Okay, something like that. Okay.
Yeah, no, so, because you're like really talking about the philosophy of it and the like core values.
Yeah.
And on a bit more of a surface level.
Okay, yeah.
I have found Tom's advice to be very good, very reliable. And 2 things that really stick out were don't date someone that you work with, which I never have. But I think that's just good to like keep in mind that it's just probably not going to be worth it. So, at least take a long, hard think about that before you decide to go in that direction. And then 2, you really are an advocate for meeting significant others online, which I think is so cool. And I think we're all, I think we've embraced that a lot in the past 10 years as a community, as a culture. But yeah, you said that you really like it because it's just like you both know why you're talking to the other person. So it's a little bit more straightforward.
Intentions are clear.
It just makes it a little bit easier. And so I followed Tom's advice. And then I met my lovely boyfriend. Shout out to Matt.
Hey, Matt. I agree with both those things that past Tom told you.
I agree too. Past Tom was a really great advice giver.
I mean, there might be somebody from work that is like, but I find it's usually a relationship of convenience. That you're ready to date somebody and they're always around and there's something about collaboration that can lead to, there's something here. But, I often say, date some other people and see if it's still there, because that feeling might be satiated elsewhere.
Yeah, really good advice. So we have a couple more questions. I don't know if we have time.
Let's just say one last thing about online dating.
Sure, yeah.
If you're a guy, please stop just saying, hey.
So many things I can add to the please stop doing this list.
Yeah, it's like, I feel like sending dick pics, like all of these things. I don't get it.
Oh man, online dating. Well, my younger cousin once told me she signed me up for Bumble like 2 years ago, and I was on it for like a week. But she was like, swipe left, so meaning no, swipe left on anyone that has a fish picture. That was like 50% of guys. Like, do you know how many guys have pictures? No, a fish. No, like they're holding a fish. They're just like super proud, and they have their shades on. That was like one random thing. There's also like the standard bathroom picture, selfie, and then there's also the one where they're in a car, but it's a really bad angle. But they're like they have their collared shirt, button-down shirt on, and they're driving. But but it's just like this weird angle while they're sitting in the car. So just be original, more original with those pictures.
I was doing a Facebook ads training, and they were talking about at one stage of your Facebook ads campaign, you're supposed to do something. You're supposed to put out a really polarizing ad. So those who know you're not their people, tell Facebook to hide all your ads so you stop paying to get your ads in front of them. But those who are like, that's me, they then commented, they're you. So I mean, I feel like that's what the fish picture is. Because some people see it and be like, that's my guy. I want a guy who fishes.
Yes. Oh man, yeah, that's hilarious. Okay.
Did we do them all?
We had a couple more. I don't know if we want to just like wrap it up, or if you want me to just ask you the next two questions, and
sure,
then that'll
let's do them.
Okay.
I'll be more succinct.
Oh, okay. I mean, sure.
Not promising anything.
Oh, okay. So the last two questions, I'll kind of put them together.
Okay.
Tom, Facebook ads, social media, algorithms, which you just talked about. Be real with me. Is it worth it? I want to grow my business, but really, do I have to do all this? And the other question is, Tom, I see you on Instagram stories up early all the time. Why, though?
How are those questions you can combine?
They're... Because I asked them together at the same time.
I thought you were going to combine like two like questions.
They could both be business related, maybe.
True. I'm just giving you shit. So let's combine two like questions. Tom, why do you like pizza? And, why is the sky blue?
Yeah, maybe.
So Facebook ads, all those things, is it worth it? Yes. The answer is yes. All of it is worth it. The question is, how much time do you actually have? That's, I guess, my biggest wish is to be completely realistic about how much time you actually do have. And then within that time, what is the priority? So there's some companies that I was working with, they were a brick and mortar, and we got really clear on the amount of time they had. And they realized that most of their new clients were coming from referrals. So instead of putting all this time into Facebook and all this time into Instagram, that will lead to results, but they needed results now to keep the lights on. And so we said, we're going to stop putting energy into that stuff and create a referral campaign for all of your clients. Boom. Like, it blew them up in a good way. So getting really clear for yourself, first of all, how much time do you have and how much energy. And then from there, picking one or two priorities. So for me, one of the things I'm working on is a new Facebook ads campaign. So I've been I take pride in trying to answer, when I do a question of the day, I try to answer everybody's question. For like the past 3 weeks, I've been absolutely terrible at it. So you'll see like a month from now, I'll go back and answer all of them. People will be like, I don't even remember this. But I will I'll just answer them in a fury. And so you just have to be like, that's what I'm saying, like with me, I'm not rigid, where if I say, I will do this, but sometimes it can't be the priority. Like, I'm still going to keep the conversation going, but you got to figure out for yourself what is the priority and how are you going to use that within the time. So you're not going to be able to, if you have, 20 minutes a day, every day. You're not going to be able to do LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and da-da-da. So pick your one or your two and stay disciplined every day in posting on those. But I do recommend then once a month, just mess around on some of these other apps or some of these other things people are saying, just so you can get a taste and a feel for it, so that you can see what conversations look like over there, how your customers or your audience is interacting over there. It might give you a new idea, might feel a little more like home, might feel a little more easier and authentic for you to express through that platform and community. But then when you have the time, when you have the team, or when you're able to start going in there, you're not just going blind.
Nice.
Succinct?
Very succinct.
Nice.
Yes. Great.
Why do I get up early?
And post on Instagram stories.
Oh, they're asking why I posted on Instagram stories?
Yes, they see, I'll read it again. It says, I see you on Instagram stories up early all the time. Why though?
Oh, okay. I thought their question was, why are you getting up early? Like, why do you get up early?
That might be part of their question.
Okay, we'll answer both.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think I've already answered why I get up early is I love getting up before the sun does. I love doing that. On that other end of the spectrum, I'm super vigilant about getting to bed at like 9:30 or 10, much to the chagrin of my loved ones sometimes. Because I do find if even 1 or 2 days I go to bed at maybe midnight, that it just throws off it's harder to get to bed and get up on time. So why do I post on Instagram stories? Well, I try to post on Instagram stories quite often. It's a really fun way to engage with people. And I find that once the day picks up, I'm oftentimes too busy, or I'm doing kind of work that's more privacy, so I can't show things, or I'm worried that if I take a picture of this, that somewhere in the background there's some sensitive information. So when I'm outside or going for my walks, it's a moment where I can pause and actually have time to interact. And it's motivating for me to be able to like take a picture of myself and put on the filter where it says, 6:20 in the morning, and it's just motivating. It's fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Any other questions you have? Did you get all yours too?
Yeah, I was able to get all my questions in and answered them spectacularly.
What was this like for you?
This was fun. Yeah, it's cool to be a fan and then actually be in your podcast and also a friend, and to support you in this way and have a fun experience. Now I can say that I've done a podcast. I've interviewed someone on a podcast.
Well, I think that you should start a podcast. And so you saw, other than the setting up everything, that it's pretty straightforward when you have the skill set you do, right? You didn't seem stressed at all throughout this whole thing.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I would have to consider what it would be about, but I think that could be really cool. I do like podcasts, and I think there's always room with an anthropology background. There's always room for more stories to contribute to the overall understanding of whatever the topics are.
Yeah, true. Are you cool with folks hitting you up and letting you know how much they appreciate you?
I'm cool with that.
Where can they do that?
They can do that. They can find me on Facebook. My name is Sadiya Sassine. I'm sure Tom will link it. Mm-hmm. And I'm also on Instagram, also at Sadiya Sassine.
Nice.
Yes.
Show notes today are tomrell.com/QA with Sadiya. Super long, I know, but I didn't think of it ahead of time, so I had to make it up on the spot. tomrell.com/QA with Sadiya. I want to thank you so much, and I want to say if you want to hear more of Sadiya, go to tomrell.com/courage. Sadiya was a part of the Courage Talks. So if that link doesn't work, it's tomrell.com/courage talks. Try one of those. Super prepared with the links. Yeah. So, let's have you end with, what is your invitation to those listening?
My invitation to those listening to this podcast would be to maybe join me in something that I'm trying to improve upon, which is hearing good advice and then actually trying to apply it. Whether it's in business and work or in personal life. Like, I've applied your advice to personal life, but I think good advice from you, but also in general, when we hear different tips, like how to do Facebook ads or how to, meet your significant other, to actually not just listen to it and appreciate listening to it, but to actually try it out for yourself.
That's wonderful. I love that.
Yes.
And when you do, and it works, let Sadiya know. And if it didn't work, please read the disclaimer at the bottom of the page.
Yes, thank you.
And in one word, what is grace to you?
Grace is, the first thing that comes to mind is forgiveness. Sure, and that's one word. So I'm going to go with forgiveness.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much once again. I really appreciate you taking this leap of faith with me.
Yes, thank you, Tom.
My pleasure. And as always, to those watching or listening, I'm wishing you peace and blessings. Thank you.
One more thing. I'd love to continue the conversation. Feel free to join me at tomearl.com/join. Subscribe below, or let's connect on social media. Tom Earl Artist. Thanks again for watching.